Hi, welcome to Soundings with Sash. We are on again tonight, and I'm so excited to have you with us. If you are with me in the comments, please say hi. I want to say hi back. Tell me where you're tuning in from. I am so excited. I have two guests with me tonight that I'm so excited for you to meet, and I'm going to add them in right now. It's Manie Kohn and Jill Thompson. Hi, welcome.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
Thanks.
Yes. So I know everybody's like, oh, she's on 2 minutes early. So that's okay. They'll come on. Say hi if you're with us. And Cheryl already said she can't wait. So Cheryl, I don't know if she's on here yet, but she's on my YouTube there. So thank you guys for joining. So we are talking about relationships. So when you both reached out to me to say, hey, I want to talk about relationships. First of all, one, why did you want to join and discuss relationships? So, Manie, go ahead. Hi, Levi.
Hey, Levi. Hey,
he's a Nashville singer, by the way.
Howdy. Well, howdy, Levi. Relationships, I think, is something that I naturally gravitate towards that kind of conversation. So when you offered that up, I'm like, you know what? Not only do I am I genetically predisposed to kind of full immersion into talking about relationships, I find them fascinating, but I most just recently came out of a very instructive, as I like to call it, dating relationship myself. So the combination, that intersection of this just happened in my life and you offering an opportunity to kind of talk about it and contribute to that conversation is like, oh, I got to ask Sandy if I can come on.
So, okay. So instructive. I already want to hear
Yeah.
what instructive means. And I mean, I've not ever heard that term in a relationship, an instructive one. What does that mean?
Wow. Well, how much time do you got? Oh my gosh. Hey, Levi. It was, gosh, the summary of instructive. Like, I would imagine that I learned so much about myself through that relationship that had I not gone through that journey with that particular dating partner, I wouldn't have evolved into the next level that I get to show up in my next dating relationship, not only with myself, but with my future partner. That's kind of what I mean by instructive.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Instructive. So you learned something about you. You learned and you learned from them.
A ton.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, I think that's a great way to look at it in perspective already, because a lot of times in a relationship, we see where all the failures are. It sounds like you're seeing where the successes are. And that's awesome, And I don't like to do this failure success because relationships are a journey. They're never a failure or it's a success, right?
100%. It was something that it was almost like, Sandy, it was almost like an assignment. It was an assignment that I had to do it. I was locked in on a ride that I could not get off, and it was completely meant for my own evolution. So it was pretty incredible.
Yeah. Look who's joined us. Hello, Cheryl.
Hey, Cheryl.
Sure.
And Levi, thank you for sticking with us. So true. Yeah. So Jill, and when you answered the call about relationships, what drew you to this subject matter?
Well, I'm going to go with the instructive theme that Manie has so eloquently laid out there, because I agree with you 100%. For me, I've got this history of two very long-term and ultimately what I had considered failed marriages, and now have kind of gotten into a relationship that's been ongoing for quite some time now, that I would consider to be the healthiest, best relationship I've ever been in. And if it weren't for what I learned in those other two relationships, I wouldn't be, I think, where I am right now. And so, with Manie, those two again, I say failures because, like you said, there are their journeys, and it's really not a failure. But it's taken me, by the way, a while to reframe that, because I have gone through a period of time in my life where to even talk about, to be divorced one time, it's like, okay, well, we all make, mistakes, or, we learn and we grow. But then, twice, it feels embarrassing at times, or it has. And now it's like, well, that's life. And I gave it another go. What can I say? And gave it my all for a very long time. And so those are positive things. And like I said, both very instructive, just like Manie said. And I love also just the relationship topics, because I feel like, because I've experienced things that I didn't like, I know better now what I do like. I've experienced things that don't work. I know better now ways to approach things that do work. If you look at relationships as ways to learn about yourself and always keep growing and trying new things and new approaches, then I think that it is very instructive, like Manie said.
Yes. So we have another visitor to the page.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Jay.
There we go. Yep. A good way to look at it.
I'm in good company.
Yeah, Levi, I can see that would be a challenge. Is that, that is a thing, is that nobody's looking at you for one facet of who you are, right? In a relationship, that's the difficult part. It's if you're in a public arena, that's how people see you, right? So that they tend to gravitate towards just that one facet of who you are. So, and that's challenging. The dating relationships are challenging, no doubt. I had given you guys some questions, and I'm going to flash them up here real quick so that we can remember the first question, which is, what is the most important thing in any relationship on how to healthily communicate? What do you guys think is key in having a healthy communication?
Manie, you want to go first?
Oh, Jill, throwing me right into the fire, right into the volcano. I can't trust it.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Sure, I'll take a swing at it.
I'm gonna do the solo. Okay, you're gonna.
Oh, okay.
Full
screen.
You're gonna get full screen, because I agree.
Okay, well, I don't want to scare your audience. One thing, what the most important thing in a relationship on how to communicate. My knee-jerk reaction wants to say something along the lines of maybe how to communicate, talking, this, that, and none of those things are wrong. But I think off the top of my fro here, if it fits even on in your camera, I would say listening. I would say listening is one of the most important ways that I know of how to communicate, and what has helped set me up for better communication. And I don't mean listening in the sense of understanding the written word or the spoken word. What I mean by listening is understanding how the person who's speaking, how they feel. What's going on a heart level, what they're saying. So, it reminds me of a quote by Maya Angelou, which actually, coincidentally, it's been really near and dear to my heart for a decade. She said, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. That's always stuck with me. And so I think that with the listening component, understanding how someone feels, for me, in my journey with relationships, that is one of the number one things that I think is important in terms of healthy communication, listening.
Yes. Yes. Here we go. There we go. We're gonna do a three face on that one. So yes, I think that is key. Communication has to be part of that, as being the number one thing. But everybody comes from a different place of communicating, the way that they learned how to communicate. So even just getting through that first layer of getting to know someone, and their communication style. We have to kind of dive into, from the very beginning, we do have to listen to other people's stories, on prior relationships with them, because every Dory and I were talking about this last night. Every person that you've been in a relationship does make you who you are right now, and it enriches your life. Whether it was a traumatic relationship or things just fell apart or whatever that is, they have enriched your life in some manner. And like you were saying, Manie, about, it was the most, instructive and that you've had. And it's kind of like you do learn things about yourself, the unhealthy things about yourself, the positive things about yourself. And you do have to introspect and reflect, because I always think a relationship is 50-50, whether, regardless of why a relationship ends, you were still 50% of that relationship, regardless of any relationships, whether it's a dating one, a family one, I'm talking about all, it's your job to communicate correctly. It's your job not to have expectations on other people, right? I mean, I think that's where people kind of fall into that expectations of a role. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to be careful in putting expectations in a relationship unless it's talked about, like really clearly putting up boundaries and expectations in it, right? Like, I expect that I'm going to hear from you, by text. Honestly, I mean, those things are important. People think, well, do they still like me? They're not texting me? They're not, messaging me, that kind of thing. You really, from the very beginning, you have to form those healthy boundaries and if you are expecting that, you need to say it, and you have to tell your truth. You have to be honest, you have to be honest with what you see going into something. You can't just guard all that. So anyway, that's just me blurbing that all out. So, okay. So let's see. Levi's saying some things. So I always like to have our audience be a participant in what we're talking about. He's got to go. Okay. Well, good luck, Levi, on whatever you're working on. So have a wonderful rest of your day. And then I saw Cheryl. Yes, communication is first. And again, I just made this little, slide up here. Communication is key, but so is honesty. So my next question is, what are the healthy ways to deal with conflict? Now, okay, that's a piece that there are people that don't like conflict. So how are you to be honest in your relationship? Jill, what do you think? How do you deal with conflict in any relationship? And I'm not talking just a loved one, just anyone. I mean, what is how do you deal with that?
Well, I'll tell you what, this has been an area for growth for me. I believe in my last relationships, especially my most recent, last very long-term relationship, I actually ended up kind of falling into some pretty unhealthy ways of communicating, and even to the point where I kind of shut down and didn't communicate. And so that all really kind of became my way of communicating, was almost communicating through silence. And that's not very healthy, as I've learned now in a new relationship. And so the question, just repeat the actual question for me one more time, Sandy.
Okay, I'll flash it up here. What are the healthy ways to deal with conflict in a relationship? What are the healthy ways to deal with it?
So to communicate, to actually use your words. And this is actually, something that me and my boyfriend have had a lot of, conversations about, because I've always thought of myself as a decently good communicator. But then what I've realized is, I'm a pretty good communicator when I'm happy and when things are good. But when there's a conflict, I've like I said, these are things I've learned. I did not really realize this about myself until over the last couple of years, that when there's a conflict, I tend to shut down, and I will get quiet, and like squash it, right? And I'll either try to figure out how to deal with it in my mind and work through it myself, or I'll just brush it under the rug. Again, these are kind of historical patterns of behavior. I'm not saying this is how you should do it. I'm telling you what not to do first, because what I learned in my current relationship, because my boyfriend is actually an amazing communicator. And he's taught me so much about, he's even said to me before, listen, what you just did, which was to go quiet, is not super healthy. Here's another way it could have gone. He's actually said this to me before. Here's another way that could have gone. And then he's talked about it. He's like, this happened. And I said, what's wrong? And you say, actually, I think you're being a bit of an ass right now. And this is why, because this happened and that happened. And I, and this is how it made me feel. And he could have said, oh, and he basically almost role plays, and then I would have said this. And then you would have said that. And then, and he's like, what he said to me, which some of the women might find it funny, was he's like, that's how we need to communicate. We're best friends. We can do this, and we need to do this. And I want to do this. And I'm like, well, I really want to do that too. I never have. And I don't really know how. I mean, I hear you, but I've not done that. So I'm going to try. And he's like, well, that's what guys do. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. He goes, if you just tell me how you're feeling in the moment when you're feeling it, and again, not name calling, not yelling, but just, this is how I'm feeling right now, and this is how this is making me feel. Then we can address it right now. We can resolve it in the moment, and then it doesn't fester. We didn't ruin our evening. We didn't ruin the weekend. We're not mad at each other. We just get to the bottom of it. We ultimately will likely apologize and explain if we need to, and then it's over. And so this is the new way of learning, but I'm learning still. So that's how I think is the healthy way to do it, and what I aspire to be doing going forward.
That's great. So wow. So some guys need to take some tips on that, and girls, not just guys.
Yeah, right. Because I think there's sometimes a stereotype that women are awesome at this and men suck at this, and I am living proof that I'm the exact opposite in my relationship.
Can I throw something at you?
Yeah, please do.
What do you think of this? It's just, as I'm listening to you, Jill, I'm like, first of all, I really like this dude that you're dating right now. He sounds like a solid guy, right?
Yeah.
Articulate, emotionally, aware, good communicator, all these kind of things, which, like you said, guys are not typically known for being, the lead when it comes to being, emotionally aware. But while you were talking, I'm just going to throw this out there and see what you guys think. What if, here we are, we're all so evolved. We're all adults. We're having adult relationships and adult conversations. And and we're so articulate, and we're using multi-symbolic words on the Scrabble board and blah, blah, blah. But I'm thinking, what if relationships and communication could be distilled down to a fourth grade level? Like, what if we were all on the playground and we said, like, you know what, Jill? And I come up and I run up and I go, Jill, I like you. Do you want to be my friend? Right? Or, hey, Sandy, when you said that, it really hurt my feelings. I know that we are looking for, coping mechanisms and tools to communicate, but sometimes I think, what if we just distilled this down to being fourth graders on the playground?
Which is just say what you think, right? Say what you're feeling in the moment, right?
I see where you're going with that. But I'm just going to say, even when you got to fourth grade, you had some skinned knees, right? You already had some injuries on the playground. Mm-hmm. So now that's where what comes in? Fear.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we could all go back to that fourth grade level, we still have had some hurts that are going to hinder us being vulnerable and that childlike, right?
That is so true. The fear piece, I don't think that you can brush that aside at all. That's a great point, because I think that when I think about why I have gone quiet in the past, it is out of fear. It's out of fear of, I know how this goes. It doesn't go well, or I'm going to upset him and he's going to be mad and it's not going to, it's not going to go well. And then you just get scared. And so you just shut down. And I think, if you can just, what I've found is when I do address things the way that I laid out, that he's recommended and that I think makes a lot of sense, every time that happens, my fear gets less and less and less with this particular person, because he proves to me every time that it's a safe place, that I can do this. And really, I can. And he's not just telling me to do it and then he's going to turn on me. He's telling me to do it because he really means it. And then when I do it, he really is there the way he said he would be. And we really actually resolve it. And then, but the only way to get over the fear is to be with somebody who is willing to work through it with you and keep showing up and be consistent with you, so you can realize you don't have to be scared. Or if you are with somebody who you're just consistently scared with, probably that's a really good red flag.
That's a flag.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm the queen of red flags.
I talked about red flags.
I get warmed by them.
What was that meme I've seen before of like somebody's kneeling and giving you a thing of
red flags? It's true.
So much for this bouquet of red flags.
Yes, I tend to go past those because it just depends on your perspective, and where you're coming from. Like I in the past, unfortunately, was always in a relationship of potential, not of actual.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be like, oh, that person, they have potential to do XYZ or to be XYZ. And, my very first marriage, I probably thought I was doing a fixer up project. So that's my fault. Right. Mm-hmm. And again, when I was saying about the 50-50 thing, he was who he said he was. He was who he was the whole time. And it was me that didn't recognize that, one, he didn't want to be changed. Two, I couldn't change somebody else. And three, that even if I tried to push my will on that wasn't going to happen. So I was really young though. I mean, I was 18, 19, I was kind of young, and we went into it and had kids and stuff. So it's kind of like, I went into it blindly. I didn't even know what a red flag was then. So, when you're young, you have this, that hopeful thing, and as we evolve and we get older, and I know the three of us are kind of around the same ages, this whole new relationships and relationships in the past and being single and dating, it's a whole different ballgame now. I mean, this is not even close to what I remember, as an 18-year-old. And then I got married again in my 30s, but it was, and I had long-term ones as well. It wasn't just short little stints, but, it has taught me, but I still find myself going back to patterns, right? Don't we get in these relationship patterns? I mean, so let me ask you, just out of not even just love relationships, what have you learned about family relationships and relationships with friends? I mean, as we're at this age, I mean, what is it that has changed for you, I guess you'd say, as we've gotten older? Where are you guys at with that? I know my family relationships have evolved and changed, so what about you, Manie? I mean,
So, my relationship with my mom has not been exemplary for decades. And me being able to have the courage and a little bit of detachment that allowed me to have a healthy perspective that, just because some people are my family doesn't mean that it's not necessarily it doesn't mean that it's not necessarily a healthy relationship. Doesn't mean that it's not necessarily it could be a toxic relationship. So I'm jumbling my words a little bit, but my mom, God love her, toxic relationship. I will always leave the door open for my own mother. But I had to come to terms with this relationship is not good. And I'm not obligated necessarily to have to nurture that or change it for her or change the dynamic. You can only do so much. So that bleeds into my relationships with my friends now as well, because now I am more selective about who I spend my time with.
Yes.
I see dudes that are just living, like, just from the male perspective, dating over 50. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
Dudes, look, dudes, I know dudes that are just 50, 60, right? Swiping, swipe, 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 swipe. It's a numbers game for them. They are not changing the way that they are showing up in a relationship at all. It's just, I'm going to swipe my way to love. I'm going to just
Swipe
I'm
my way
not
to
going to
love. I
change
love that.
myself.
Swipe my way to love. How do you
Swipe my
do
way
that?
to love. I'm not going to change myself. I'm not going to show up different. I'm not going to take a long, hard look in the mirror and go, maybe I'm the common denominator here in these relationships. How do I need to change? How do I need to show up? I don't want to be that. So I'm more selective about my friendships, and I've cut people out that I don't think are good people for me to hang out with. I don't want to be like certain people. So that's what I mean by family, friends, toxic, unhealthy.
Yeah.
They say that you're the sum of the 5, 6, 7 people that you spend time with. I want to find my tribe. I haven't found them. You got to sift a lot to find your people. I'm still sifting today.
You do. It's true. I'm guilty of the swiping. So I'm even on a women's perspective.
Yeah.
You know, because of my fear and hurts and whatever, I did the opposite of my normal natural progression. I did the swiping. You know, I 2 years ago did an online dating thing. I dated 70 guys in 1 year.
Oh, wow.
And that's including the meet and greet. Okay. That's not just, that's not just dating, but I finally at the end got the gist. I'm just going to have coffee with this person. There's no dinner involved. There's we're not investing that much time.
Yeah.
Right. And but I kind of had to do that coming out of a relationship, that I was getting myself out of that. So I
went through the same thing 2 years ago. Well, yeah, I'm trying to think. Was it
same year as me?
2.5 years ago. It was early 2019. And I did the same thing where I was, I didn't date 70 guys, but I did go on a lot of first dates and for the purpose of just kind of learning about myself and trying to figure out what I was all about. Because I think when you're in that long-term thing, sometimes you can forget that or lose that a little bit. So I also went on a lot of dates, did a lot of swiping as well. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I hate to say it, our younger generation has kind of made this happen for us in a way. Like they changed the dating rules on us. Like our younger generation, actually now we're like, oh, we have to keep up with whatever they're doing at the time. Does that I mean, that's what was happening. And I have grown sons who are freaking out, They're like, oh, mom, oh, God.
I'm thinking how it used to be, like way back when, like villages were so much simpler, no apps, no tech. A man would walk across the village and look at the fair maidens of 4 or 5, maybe, and pick one and done, right? And now it's like this abundance of options. I feel
but they're not really options. Right. But they're not really options. That's the thing. The thing is that's a false sense. And I want to know, Cheryl, okay, dude, I need to play with your hair. Is she talking to you, Manie?
I don't know. We all have great hair. So
and my hair is driving me crazy right now. So I don't know. She wants to play with somebody's hair. I just thought that was funny. We didn't see her comment earlier. I don't know if you did. She has a code with her husband. Fluffy Bunny.
Fluffy Bunny.
I love that. So I think that's key though, having a code word instead of like elbowing him or or her or embarrassing them.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good way to not get some hurt feelings going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the dating game has changed and not for the better. I don't think it's for the better. But then again, at the same time, how do you meet somebody? Where do you go? To meet someone. So Jill, since you have a partner, how did you meet your guy?
I met him on Bumble.
Oh,
Mhm.
you met him on Bumble. We'll see. Okay.
Yeah.
So you bumbled him.
Me too, by the way. I'm a Bumble guy too. My last relationship on
Yeah.
Bumble, which by the way, women-owned app,
Yeah.
right? Women,
It is.
you
It
ladies
is. Yeah.
get to initiate before the guys, predatorially try to communicate with you. You get to set the standard, which I love, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Mhm.
Bumble. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've tried that one. Um, but it's hard. I mean,
It is.
honestly, I went on and off of it so many times
Mm.
because I can only say hi and how's the weather, so many times, and it's like that conversation that goes back and forth. I'm like, this is the like, if you
Yeah.
don't ask me out within five, like I should tell them in my bio and the expectations. If you don't ask me out by the third conversation, just get
Well,
rid.
that's what's interesting is people have such different ways of looking at it, honestly. And I had this experience where when I first got on to dating sites after the long relationship, I was really stressed. Actually, it gave me a lot of anxiety, and I felt very nervous. And I also just felt like, and I wasn't looking for a relationship. I wasn't also looking for a hookup. I was looking to learn about myself and be able to meet people along the way. It's kind of an awkward position to be in for me, and I think for some guys, but I didn't know what else to do, right? And so I just needed to be able to kind of put myself back out there. But I was, like I said, I was very stressed about it. And I remember going on this first date, the very first guy that I met, sweet guy. And we went on this long 2-hour walk with him and his dog. He was super cute. He was very sweet. And I was really weird. I was really not myself, and I was super, like I said, uptight. At least I felt like I was. I don't think he necessarily thought I was, but I was. I was not at all myself, and the whole thing just stressed me out until, just a quick funny story, until one evening, probably 2 months into it all, I was out with my girlfriends on a Friday night, and it was probably 11 o'clock, and we were at some pizza joint. And one of the girls was on Bumble. Another one of the girls was not, and she's really funny. And so she took my Bumble friend's phone and, with her permission, was on her Bumble app and was swiping right and swiping left. And at 11 o'clock on a Friday night, she'd get matches on the spot. And when she would send these hilarious messages, not telling a joke, but I can't even describe it. Just really kind of casual, fun, playful messages, not sexual, but just fun and lighthearted. And it versus, hi, how are you today? Or what are you about? What are you looking for? Or you better ask me out, or anything like super serious. It was just playful. And then, because actually both of those girlfriends of mine are very playful people. And so you almost learn from the vibe of the guys that would respond whether they were also playful. And I know she wanted to find somebody who was playful in nature. So did somebody banter back and forth with her? Did they kind of get her jokes, even though it was written by our friend?
Right.
But and you find, well, and it totally changed the way I did everything. It was actually, as funny as it is, a transformative, instructive evening for me, because I learned from that, oh my gosh, there's a way to do this that is kind of fun and lighthearted, and I don't have to take this seriously, and I can kind of banter, because I like to banter. So I think I'm going to do that. And that's what I started doing. And I started bantering. And then I found a lot more connections with people, where eventually that date was made. But there was a fun nature to it and a lighthearted nature to it.
Right.
You mentioned kind of like getting, what, they don't ask me out, but
yes,
everybody's got different expectations. Some
That's
people, I wasn't looking to banter forever, and we eventually got to the date part, but I didn't really want to go out on a date with somebody if I didn't know whether or not he could be playful with me.
right,
That was my perspective. That's good. There's a but for every seat, right? Because we are all different. We all want different things.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I like comedy. I like the person that's fun and has a good sense of humor. But everybody's sense of humor is different too. With sense of humor and what does that look like?
Right.
So I agree with Cheryl.
Yeah.
There was a guy, one of the first guys I went out with on one of those dating apps, who kind of explained it all to me, because I was like, okay, I'm really dumb about this. Like, I was really dumb about it. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. what this is doing, and I don't want to get my feelings hurt. And he goes, well, think of it like it's billboards. He's like, you're driving past billboards, and that billboard catches your attention, but you keep driving, and then you see a couple more. And then while you're looking at those billboards, somebody else is looking at your billboard. So then they're pinging you, and it's kind of this numbers game on who you're going to remember. And he said, you have to make it memorable. Like you're saying, being funny. You have to make it memorable. It's got to be a billboard. It's like, it got to be a tagline, that's going to catch somebody's attention, whatever that looks like. So I remembered that. So afterwards, that did help me to recall that, not to get my feelings hurt, because as many people as talking to you, they're talking to that many people too, it's vice versa. And as long as your feelings are not in that, and what you think about yourself, if you're not equating somebody else liking you to, self-worth and self-esteem, I think that you'll be okay. But I have friends that I know that I would never, I told them, don't go on the dating apps. Just don't do it, because I don't think that you can. I don't think that you can, your feelings can handle it.
Yeah.
How did you do with it, Manie?
Well, I remember, despite me, I'd never been on online dating apps before, right? Here we are in Corona 2020, 2021. Like, how do you meet people? How are we doing this? And so the online thing was new for me. I remember taking way too much time in creating my bio.
Oh, yeah.
And as a marketing dude, like, okay, I understand that everything's kind of a market. You're trying to get the attention of the dating market, right? But I also wanted to show up differently. And I felt like, unlike a previous version of myself, and I don't want this to come across like self-congratulatory, but as we all evolve, right? And hopefully we're becoming better versions of ourselves along the way. I know a previous version of myself was just like, I would have written anything to catch as many as possible, and like a fishing net. And this time I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be my authentic self. I want to be true to myself. I want to be proud of the way that I'm representing myself online. Okay. And if that means that less women will respond to that, then so be it. Right. It's going to be more quality than quantity. And I ended up meeting someone, and that was an amazing and very intense 6-month journey, the instructive one that I was referring to earlier. But I'll tell you this, before I got involved with that relationship, I did go on a handful of dates with women. And to Jill's point, there were women out there that, let me tell you, I have tremendous empathy for people that were all trying to find connection. I get that. We're wired for that. Right. But there were women that I went on dates with and met that had absolutely no business being online. They were not ready. They were going to get eaten alive. And again, I don't want to be this guy, but a lesser version of myself would have absolutely been opportunistic with those type of situations, instead of, oh gosh, you poor little baby bird, you're an amazing human being. I'm going to take you home right now. And there are good men out there. It's going to be okay. Like some real weird, not common type of dates from the male perspective with female. And I know it's vice versa. I'm sure that you have the same thing on your end too.
So since we're going in this realm, and I'll just bring up a couple things. So did you learn what your attachment style was? And of course, what your love language are? Those things are big things right now. And when you're dating and you're getting to know some people. So, do you know what your attachment style is? Is it, you get attached too soon? I mean, this is what I saw. I actually saw it in person, is that people, after one date, they want a relationship, and it's like, whoa, hold on, or after 5 dates, they still are kind of emotionally detached, or do we have the healthy balance? The person that, the communication comes in and expectations come and boundaries come, then that's your healthy style, right? So, I mean, what did you find out about yourself? I mean, I found I sometimes was healthy, but then I was maybe probably a little clingy in some respects. So I've had to like recalibrate that. Yeah, I think we vacillate in how we're feeling, like if we have triggers, right? And if we have
Yeah,
different things, I think it's good to take a test. Okay, this is your attachment style, but I think we'll vacillate, right? I mean,
totally agree.
between
Yeah.
all three. Um, I had that book. It's called Attachment, and it's nice to point it out. And I saw myself in all three. I mean, I'd been avoidant before, and then I've been, attached too soon before. So,
Mhm.
finding that balance. But I think it's really finding maybe the right person, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's
I for me, I know this is I learned this in my last relationship too. I know this about myself. I'm a lover. I love love. I do love being in a relationship. I love the honeymoon period. I love beyond the honeymoon period. I'm the guy who, is emotionally in touch and aware and articulate as I like to think that I am. Every other dude. Um, you know, I do know this about myself, that I am experiential, meaning I will, Jill and Sandy will be like, "No, Monty, don't do it. Don't go exclusive with her. Don't. She's so not right." And I will like, la 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 la
uh,
la la.
I'm
I
doing
will jump. I will jump off the cliff, and I'll be like, "It's okay," and I'll crash land, and I'll look up at Jill and Sandy and go, "I'm okay. I'm okay." And you're like looking at me going, "I told you so. We told you so, Monty. We told you so." And guess what? I'm going to do it all over
Well,
again. I know this about myself.
I always like the phrase "words don't teach," right? Experience or actions teach. Like you kind of sometimes have to do it to know.
have to experience it, right?
But on the attachment style, Sandy, I would say when I was dating around, I actually don't know that any kind of attachment style came through, because I literally was detached, and not in a bad way. It wasn't like I was avoidant attachment or anxious or secure. Maybe I was secure because I didn't care.
Right.
And it wasn't that I didn't care about these guys. It was just that I was not interested in getting emotionally invested in anybody, because I knew that wasn't right for me at the time. I knew I didn't want to become emotionally invested. So quite frankly, if anything, if I found a really great guy that I kind of really liked, if anything, and it wasn't that I was avoidant, I just, out of some sort of attachment style issue, was more of a decision that I made that was like, oh, I probably don't want to go down that path too much, because like, I'm not ready for that. But then when I did get into, the relationship I'm in today, and I'm a year and a half in, I have realized I have an anxious attachment style. I think, to your point, that it can vacillate. It's becoming secure. It's becoming a secure attachment style, because again, the more and more experiences I have with him, I'm learning I can feel secure here. I don't have to feel anxious, but I did not realize how much I think I have had an attachment or an anxious style.
So you bring up my point about the next thing is trusting. You have to trust that other person, right? I mean, that trust piece, gosh, the emotions that go with a new relationship is kind of off the charts,
Mm-hmm.
but really the long term, and sticking in and being steady and trusting is that next stage, right? I mean, I love the honeymoon period as well. That's exciting and fun and all of that. And then, and then it transitions, it goes into a different thing,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not going to pry too much, Monty, but it was only for 6 months. I mean, how did you make that decision to end a relationship that was very instructive? That is.
Well, look, there was a lot of rubber on the road in 6 months. So I know that 6 months, we look at it like a timeline, but it was an intense 6 months, a lot of communication, and a lot of me ignoring some of the red flags in my own heart along the way. My girlfriend at the time, I mean, lovely and ambitious and beautiful. And I mean, nothing wrong with this person. And I'm not sure what your question was, Sandy, so forgive me. I want to get it.
And how did you go from that and into, when you knew how to end it? Like how did you get to that place?
Yeah, look, I suck at ending a Look, I've never had to break up with someone in my adult life. I've had like 2-ish 10-year relationships. So there's no breakup conversation that that occurred regularly. Oh, you meet someone, you hang out, you do that. I wasn't equipped to have the breakup conversation. And so what I learned and what she taught me, quite frankly, a strength of hers was, Manie, you just got to be direct. You got to be direct.
Yeah.
And she learned from me how to be more articulate and more in touch with her emotions. I learned from her how to be more direct. And at the end of the day, I had to just assess the relationship and go, you know what? The point that I was not aggressively myself when I was around her. My friends noticed it. People who are not even close to me, who met me, they noticed it. It wasn't like I was pretending to be someone who I wasn't, but I just wasn't authentically myself. And I had to weigh that on the scales and be honest with myself and go, I wish I didn't feel this way, but I do. And that was the most honest conversation and one of the toughest conversations I've had to have in the last 18 months.
Wow.
One needed to happen. That's how I got there.
But yeah, not being your authentic self, that is a clue. That's a clue that that's not the right person, because if you can't be authentically you, that's tough. That's tough. But I mean, when did you notice that you weren't, or because in the beginning, we all put our best foot forward, right? So in the beginning, you're gonna, not that you're not being authentic yourself, but you're being like, okay, I'm gonna try to impress this person,
or
whatever, savoir faire,
For me, I'm like, you know what? This is new. Maybe the universe entrusted me with this relationship. This relationship is a gift. And I still feel that way today about that. It's a gift. I've been entrusted with this relationship. And also, what am I supposed to learn, universe? Okay, so I'm going to try new things that I normally would say no to. I'm going to eat a new food. I'm going to date a new type. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go and listen to that kind of music. I'm going to, in the spirit of
like the rodeo, maybe.
Like the rodeo, maybe. Maybe. I find some of my tribe at the rodeo. You never know. One of my 7 people can be a rodeo. But as time went on, there were just too many things that were not me, that I was pretending maybe, or it just wasn't a fit. It wasn't a fit. And I felt like, does this person make me feel, how do I feel about myself when I'm with them? The bottom line for me in relationships, and I will never forget this, and I hope I carry this forward, is that how do I feel with this person when I'm with them? Do I feel better about myself, neutral, or worse?
Yes.
Better, neutral. If it's neutral or worse, why am I compromising myself to be in this relationship?
Right.
If it's better, then it's like, okay, let's keep doing this. This just feels right. And how do I make them feel about themselves when they're with me? That was the acid test that helped me make that decision when I finally light bulb moment.
Yes, I feel like people, they need to be an addition, not a subtraction. I've said that a lot. Addition, not a subtraction. And they have to, it's a give and take, if we're all going to be down someday. So yeah, can that person lift you up, on that day? Or are they going to, when you're down, are they going to kick you? I mean, it's, they'll be like, oh, you're having a bad day. Well, so am I, kind of thing, or is it going to be that person that's going to, when you're down, and sometimes you're down at the same time. It is the truth. I mean, in partnerships, you can be down at the same time, but how do you handle that? And how do you communicate, hey, listen, and what I would do is, kind of just take a break, like say, okay, I'm halt. I use that term halt, the hungry, angry, lonely, tired thing, where it is in a relationship or any major decisions, you halt. You just put it on pause. If you can communicate that clearly to another person that you need that time, hopefully they respect you enough and respect that for you to halt and not be able to, have a major conversation, or, if you're down, sometimes people can't help you. You have to find that in yourself,
Totally.
another person isn't going to make you happy. Another person, cannot meet all of your needs and expectations. They just can't. It's not possible.
That's so true. I think we put so much pressure now on one person, and I've been guilty of this in the past, right? We put everything, or as a society, we put a lot of things that we're trying to get out of one person that at one time it took an entire village to provide. And we're looking for one person to provide all of that. It's just not realistic.
It's not realistic.
Yeah.
No, and I feel like we got set up in a way from the media, from movies, and from love stories, and from
Homework.
yes. I mean, I think we get set up like that, like, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be this fairy tale. Well, real life is not a fairy tale. So unfortunately, that person cannot meet all of those things. Your Prince Charming or your princess, she's not going to meet all of your needs. So that's why you have to look inwards and meet those needs yourself. And that's where that self-worth and self-esteem and loving yourself comes from. I know a lot of people talk about narcissists and loving yourself. There's a difference between narcissism and self-esteem building love. You have to come to that place of, what, no matter what this other person thinks of me, or even what anybody thinks of me, I still like me. I still love me. And I know that I have worth.
Sure.
And I've said that before, what a girl wants to hear, is that you're worthy and wants to be loved. Like me personally, those are my needs. I want to feel like I'm worthy and want to be, I want to be loved, whatever that looks like. When I say want to be loved, it can look different for everyone. So,
Right.
I mean, you can't even put a label on that. What does that look like? But you have to communicate that to your partner, what that looks like. And can that person meet those needs? That's where you have to find that person. Like Jill, it sounds like your boyfriend, he knows how to speak to you, communicate.
Yeah, but, you mentioned earlier about love languages, and I think that's kind of what you're even touching on now is like, you want to feel loved, but the way that you feel loved is maybe different than the way that somebody would be with me to make me feel loved, right? Because of the love languages. And what's interesting is he does. Yes. The answer to the question overall is yes. However, I have noticed for me, like I've always thought my love languages had to do with, there's physical touch, and I won't name them all, but for me, physical touch and I'm trying to think quality time.
Yeah,
those two are really important to me, and I've kind of I've always poo-pooed acts of service for me. I've also kind of poo-pooed words or like words of affirmation, because I'm always like, oh, Cheryl always cracks me up, by the way.
Cheryl's killing it tonight.
She's our Comedy Central tonight.
I love it. I know, this is awesome. I don't know why is bad so attractive. I can't answer. I don't know. But
yeah, I wish I could learn that.
I know, right? That would be a really good show, all in it, but
right.
itself, right?
Okay, Cheryl, you're my next guest on that topic.
There you go.
There you go. But truly about this love language thing, what I was going to say is I thought that I've known what they were. But again, kind of this whole process of discovery about myself is one time I had this exchange with my boyfriend where, something was happening. And basically I finally at some point said, well, and I asked him specifically how he feels about this thing. And he looked at me and he kind of laughed. And I said, well, why are you laughing at me? It's a serious question. And he said, well, I kind of thought that I was showing you through my actions how I felt. I mean, if you need to hear it as well, I'm happy to tell you. And then he answered, and yes, blah, 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 blah. But I thought I was showing you. And I stepped back, and we were having a walk, and I actually said, it was an epiphany. And I said, God, I said, you're right. I said, you have been showing me all day long. You have. I had been a little bit crazy, and he was very consistent and very much there for me and showing me through his actions that he was there with me. And he was here along for the ride with me, even though I was.
Oh, there you go. Don't tell me, show me. There you go.
Yeah. But yes. Like, I wanted to hear it. And that's when I realized, and I told him, I'm like, I don't think sometimes I'm giving you enough credit for your actions. And sometimes I don't think I realize so much that words are important to me, even though I've always said, actions, not words. But then I realized that words are actually very important to me, given how much weight I was placing on that, even though he was showing me. So it is such a learning experience.
So Manie, do you think do you think men do that? I mean, do you think that's a male perspective that they show more than they tell?
Look, I think men, there's a couple strikes against men right out of the gate, because we're not known to be, we're not taught as men to be emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent. And so I think there's just a lot of men out there that don't know how to communicate issues of the heart, right? Things with that level of depth. And so I think it's a shame that's how it is. It's not all guys are saddled with that. I think we all have the opportunity to become more articulate, more aware, more in touch, but we have to want to, right? And I think that's the problem is in this abundance of options, there's not a lot of self-reflection amongst men. I'd say, I know I'll bring it up at the men's meeting when it comes up for my entire gender. I'll bring it up. But, hey guys, step up your emotional intelligence game. All right, the ladies are counting on us. Let's try to be a little more in touch. But
keep your man cards. Yep. You're frozen, by the way, Manie. So just letting you know,
okay.
Your frame is frozen, but we can still hear you.
Okay, gotcha. Well,
you lovely. Look contemplative, which is really fine.
Thank you.
You froze at a nice moment.
I'll see what I can do.
So, I was going, yeah, he's not moving. But no, but we were able to listen. Oh, now he's a globe. So
I'll get there.
You coming back?
I'm coming back.
I thought maybe he was chasing his dog, and you froze.
At
one point, I had to leave and chase my dog. So.
Oh no.
You're back. There we go.
There you go. There you are. Yay. You guys are so awesome. I just want to tell you, I didn't mean for us to go down this whole dating thing. I wanted to talk about all of them, but Cheryl, she's still with us. Frozen man. Yeah.
I'm back. I'm back.
He's back.
Yeah.
So, okay. Advice, since you're the male on the show, advice in how do you like to see a woman show up in a dating relationship? I mean, what do you look for as being healthy? I guess you'd say. Trying to articulate that a little bit better. But I mean, so there's rules that we don't know about sometimes, right? like how many days till we text you or call you or, those dumb rules. Like I hate them and I don't follow them. I'm not really good at it. But what is that? I mean, is there a man code on that or am I missing it?
Look, I tend to roll. I fly the Jolly Roger high and proud. So, the views of this person do not necessarily reflect those of the rest of my entire gender.
Of the whole gender. No,
right.
I'm just curious.
But I'll tell you, I mean, look, I love a woman who is emotionally in touch, right? Like she's I love I love that. I love that, there's EQ versus IQ. And this is maybe, for men and women. IQ, I'm not really so consumed about your degree or how much you know, or if you're the Jeopardy champion and all that kind of stuff. Your emotional intelligence, your EQ versus your IQ, that's interesting to me. Being able to see, who am I? Who did I used to be? You're learning about yourself, not take yourself too seriously. You can be ambitious without flexing. And that's more of a man thing than a female kind of thing. That whole alpha male, I'm going to peacock and I'm going to, right, all that kind of stuff that's really hollow.
Do you have a gym picture in your profile? That's all I want to know.
Oh,
No, I don't have a gym picture, and I don't have a picture of a fish.
You don't have a fish or a gym picture?
Both of
Oh,
those?
man.
No. No. And by the way, I killed my profiles. I shut down all my dating apps. And since my last relationship, I have not wanted to embark back into the dating right now. I don't need that right now.
Nope.
In fact, I'm starting to consider seeing someone who I had not anticipated might be partnership material. I don't know, but the universe is kind of like, okay, let's see what you learned from your last relationship.
Very good.
And let's see what happens. So open, but yeah, no fish pictures and no gym rat stuff. No.
That's what cracked me up. I mean, I hate to say I was getting superficial myself, but if they had that, I was like, swipe. Because I was like, well, and then I did that for a while, and then I thought, well, you're eliminating some really good guys probably that you don't recognize, because they've been told by everybody else that has the gym and the fish picture that that's acceptable, and they just don't know that us women are going, please no,
right.
There's no woman in their life going, don't do that,
Right.
Well, and just
bad advice.
Just like the Snapchat filters for the women, okay?
Right?
With the bunny ears and the whatever. Nobody told those girls not to do that either. Like, come on, girls, let's stop that filter thing, okay? Because you're making the rest of us look bad. Who's got a real picture out there?
Nobody can compete with that. No, nobody.
Yeah, that's rough. And by the way, ladies, just a word of encouragement. Like for me, your bio, like I could look at your pictures, but I go deep on the bio. I'm like, who is this person? Right? Like, So for someone like me, of course, we're visual. Of course, there's a lot of National Geographic being played out right in front of us in dating life. I get it.
Yes.
There's a visual imperative there.
I know, we didn't even get to the sex part, and we're already over time. I'm so sad now.
I didn't realize that was a topic today.
Put some thought in your bio.
Oh, I was getting ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
You need a part 2 to this part 3.
Definitely
not enough hours in the day to get there.
Absolutely. If you're willing, if you both are willing to come on again.
Oh, anytime.
I haven't even talked about the sex part.
Anytime.
Sex is important. I mean, when does that conversation come into play? When do we talk about that? That's part 2. Okay. This is episode 3, part 2.
That's 3.2. Yeah.
3.2.
3.1. That'll be 3.2 till you have a few of the.
Oh, look at Cheryl wants to be a bunny. She is so funny. Oh my goodness. I want to be a bunny. You can. Snapchat will. Oh, look at now Cheryl wants to talk about
Yeah.
Cheryl, we'll bring you on.
Fluffy bunny, Cheryl. Fluffy bunny, Cheryl.
You guys have been great. This hour went fast.
Yeah.
And it went fast. Thank you guys for talking over this. I didn't expect us to go into the whole dating realm. I wanted to talk a little bit more. I didn't get to what? Question 3, 4, or 5. It's fine. We naturally flowed it. So I appreciate it. Because dating at our age is challenging. It is a challenge. It's not for the weary. That's for sure. I mean, that's something that I learned. There were a couple times I said to myself, should I stay married? No. How about no? But at the same time, it's been like the jungle,
Yeah.
trying to figure it out for
Sure.
each person, because even somebody else's experience isn't going to teach you. You have to, and like you said earlier, Jill, you have to experience it. It's only, nobody can tell you this stuff, not really, but we can help try to navigate you and help to guide you, you know, like not having the fish picture of the gym or the Snapchat filter. Those are good tips, you know, but really, I mean, do you both agree? And I want you guys to say your ending piece, but I feel like knowing yourself is the biggest hurdle, is the beginning of having a healthy relationship, is actually knowing yourself and your triggers. So that's my piece, is really get to know yourself and your triggers and where they come from, and really doing the work to get over those, you know, not just figuring it out, but actually getting help to get over those things. Right. So Manie, what do you say? And any tip before we leave?
Look, I think being in a relationship exposes so much. It's like, why go to therapy? Get involved in a dating relationship. You will learn a ton about yourself. Like, no disrespect to therapy and all and the practitioners there, but you want to get some therapy, get yourself into a relationship, because that is something that you will be exposed to, you will learn. And I learned a lot about myself through this last dating relationship. I mean, I'm so grateful for my partner of those 6 months. I'm so grateful for it. Like I said, it was entrusted to me. It was a gift, but throughout that journey, I was able to identify needs that I have about myself that are not codependent. They're not rooted in clingy or being needy. They're not emotionally weak. I feel pretty darn more equipped today, having identified needs that I know how I'm wired, so that I'm ready to show up differently and better in my next relationship.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good. That's great. Awesome. Thank you, Manie. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank
And
you.
Jill?
I would say similar to Manie and what you're talking about here in terms of learning through relationships. I actually remember as I was exiting my last very long-term relationship, I remember saying to somebody, you know, gosh, I just want to, I want to be a fully healed, got it together person, and I want to meet another fully healed, got it together person, so that we can just have a healthy relationship. And I look back at that and I remember this conversation, and they didn't call me out on it at the time, or really at all, but I remember saying it, and I've evolved my thinking since then, to the point where, to your point, Manie, like, therapy is a great thing, not knocking therapy, but to just think that you're going to, like, go through therapy to get yourself to this, like, point where, okay, I'm ready now, and now I'm fully healed and I'm perfect. And not realistic. And I think the key is, getting out there and having relationships. They can be romantic, they can be friendships, all the different relationships that you can have. But, I do think that you can do a lot of healing inside of a relationship, as long as, you're not codependent, you're not showing up and expecting the other person to solve your problems, and vice versa. You have to have the other person be as self-aware as you are and working through their own things, and you have to both be willing to somewhat, help each other, while knowing that you're not using each other as a crutch, and everybody's taking responsibility for themselves. And, in that way you're healthy, right? That's the healthy part. Right. But yeah, there are going to be triggers. Sandy, you mentioned that earlier. We all have triggers, and things are going to trigger you at some point, and things are going to trigger your partner at some point. And so, to me, like, to kind of wrap it all up in a bow, I think one of the biggest things I've learned is, you mentioned trust, and one of the ways to trust somebody, it's not just about fidelity, but trusting that they are coming from a place of love, and to give them the benefit of the doubt. So even in those hard conversations, when there's conflicts, if you can view your partner as loving you and having and give them some grace that they're doing their best, as long as you genuinely believe that they are, and vice versa, I think that it's can alleviate a lot of issues, versus kind of casting your partner in some sort of a negative light, that you think that they're really trying to hurt you. And I'm guilty of having done that before. And I'm learning how to not do that. I'm learning how to just know that, wait a minute, this person loves me. Why would they try to hurt me? Of course, they're not trying to hurt me. And then, you know, if you reframe it, you come at the conversation, that conflict conversation, the communication in a totally different way with a different energy, and that's much more well received, and you know, and everything can go so much differently than it did in your past. That's what I'm learning anyway.
That's great. That's great. And I agree with you. I mean, we're always evolving. So you're never going to be ready for a relationship. I mean, you were always
like ready to have a baby, right? We're never ready, you know.
Never ready. Yeah. But as long as you know at least your foundation and where you're coming from, I think, you know, when I say that, and knowing that you have those certain triggers and those certain things that you're going to have to overcome, you know, to be vulnerable. And so in a relationship, vulnerability is huge in the relationship. So we talked about honesty, communication, vulnerability, you know, getting past all those fears. I think that's what will make us have a healthy relationship. Yeah. So thank you guys. I appreciate you. We went over. And Cheryl, thank you for joining us the whole time. And appreciate you. So you guys have a wonderful Monday evening, the rest of your week. And I'll be coming back on Sunday with Gudrun, if you guys met her over in Germany. She'll be coming on Sunday night. So I will see you guys on Sunday night. And thank you both so much from the bottom of my heart.
You're welcome. Thanks. Right. Bye, Manie.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Peace out, you guys. Peace out. Thank you.